again, when I was asked to, I really hadn't thought about, what's my Rotary story. I don't know. And I think that is a combination of what a person has done for Rotary, what a person, or for the foundation, what the foundation has done for them. And I'll precede this with another quick little story. In our club, when I started in 2005, the existing members were obligated to go visit the new member, either at their business or, I don't know, at their home or out for coffee, and give them a $5 bill. And that would get their account started in the Rotary Foundation. So there's 40 members in the club. It took a couple of months. It wasn't all done at my place of business. I'm a retired firefighter, didn't have a place of business, but we managed. It wasn't something that you necessarily would do at the club, and started off with a couple $100. And in our club, typically you'd put $1 for every year of your anniversary or birthday when that rolled around, and eventually, became a Paul Harris Fellow, which I was very proud of. As I was coming into my year as president, 11-12, I decided I needed to up that game. Right, we're mentors, we're example, we lead by example in our clubs, and so I raised my Rotary Direct contribution so that I would be part of the Paul Harris Society, and that obviously turned into major donor designation. So that commitment is part of, I think, it doesn't have to be $100 a month or $85 a month, but if it's an amount that's at least going to make a person a sustaining Rotarian, and then at some point in your career, that major donor, that's a really good thing. That's a bucket list kind of a thing. Not everybody is in a position to do that. Totally okay. They do a million other things. It's all about time, treasure, and talents, and the foundation being a really nice place for all of that to happen. So again, as I was talking, thinking back on, okay, so what would my foundation story be? You're familiar with the Wheelchair Foundation and the partnership that Rotary has had for many, many years, and hundreds of thousands of wheelchairs donated to men, women, and children all around the world. My wife and I had the opportunity to attend a distribution in Monterrey, Mexico in 2013, and it was a fantastic experience, as you might imagine. It's an experience that, again, I really would consider kind of a bucket list thing, to be part of an international trip around the world and all the things that it contains. This was a trip that our district was part of. There's some of our district folks there and my lovely wife. It involved unboxing and assembling many wheelchairs there in Monterey, with a whole bunch of people in this building and all taking part. They just kind of went on and on forever. And then, of course, the distribution and the fitting, which is just tug at your heartstrings. Very moving, very fascinating to be part of the whole thing and have that opportunity because of the foundation. Local entertainment throughout the day. I suspect that many of the events have some of the same, and an opportunity to do some community service there in Monterrey, Mexico. Break off into groups, partner up with some of the Rotary clubs, and in 2 different projects there in town. A little bit of sightseeing, which is typically what these trips can bring. So it's one of those service vacations where you do get to see the important parts and pieces of the country. Obviously trading a bunch of flags and a lot of dinners and meeting a whole bunch of different people and just having a wonderful, wonderful time throughout the entire process. And obviously the real impact of an experience like that, being part of that, is the smiles of the folks who are being fitted with these wheelchairs, some perhaps for the first time, some coming in tattered and broken wheelchairs, and sticking with the theme, or imagined theme, for this year. What comes to my mind is just imagine the impact on this young man's life with that gift of mobility. So again, one of those that that connection with the foundation, having part of that in my wife and I's memory, is a really important part. A couple of years prior to that, shifting gears a little bit, we had the opportunity to travel to West Africa on a polio immunization trip and project fair. And it, again, is just an incredibly moving experience, knowing that the work that the Rotary Foundation has done for all of these many years, and to be able to share that with my lovely wife. A very, very, very moving experience. 50 Rotarians from across the US and Canada, heading down to a place a long ways away from home, and working with, there's actually 5 large Rotary clubs in the city of Cotonou in Benin, West Africa, a city of 2 million. So lots of Rotarians. A nice air-conditioned bus. That was the only air conditioning that you could rely on. The hotel, not so much. But we took that out on some roads where those big buses are really not supposed to go. But we went there anyway, and that was a part of the experience. And in our little group, with a young lady that you can see the back on the left there, she's a Rotarian. The young man is with the health department in the city of Cotonou. And we would wander from village to village and find the youngsters and deliver those life-saving drops, and got to chat. Of course, the translation here goes from us in English to our Rotary partner, who then speaks in French to the young man from Cotonou, and then the tribal language, because he had actually grown up in this area a couple of hours outside of Cotonou. Observing the locals while the locals were observing us as we're wandering around getting organized with all of our stuff. Got to meet lots of people. This is part of the project fair, and this is just a hilarious story. The gentleman that I'm standing next to there was the district governor-elect of a district in Nigeria, and we told him we were from California, and he nodded his head very knowingly. I gave him my business card. I worked for Los Monos College. He says, "Yep, Los Monos College. My daughter goes to school there, trying to get into the nursing program because his brother lives in Pittsburgh here, right next to where I live." How can you talk about small world? And we actually communicated online for a couple of years after that, and he came and visited, and I tracked down his daughter at class. A couple of community service projects, being able to do a community service project in another country because of all of the connections that the foundation has to do all this work, is again very, 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 very fulfilling. And like most of these trips, you get to do a little bit of sightseeing to the Enchanted Forest, a tour on one of the Mercy ships, the Africa Mercy, that was there for a number of months doing cataract surgery and different things. And what I imagine when I think about that whole trip is that this young man that my wife is delivering to is probably in his 20s now. And I'm imagining that he is not crippled with polio. But that's not really my Rotary story either, as a matter of fact. So my Rotary story is this 1,000 square foot weed patch out in front of what used to be a fire station in a little town of Oakley that is now a clubhouse for the senior center. The city doesn't offer senior activities, so it's a club that the seniors kind of do on their own. Part of their $1 a year deal was to maintain the landscaping. They were not doing a very good job of it. Didn't have a lot of resources. The city wasn't too happy about it. There's a brand spanking new Rotary Club in town, and so they came to us. Certainly, we're brand spanking new. Where are we going to get the resources to do that? But we knew where to go, right? The foundation. So we did just that. And the part that I think that affected me and this project more than anything is that the whole idea that Arch Klump came up with in developing the foundation for the purpose of doing good in the world is contagious. Because when the word got around that we were going to take on this project, the local water district immediately sent a crew out and their trucks and equipment to do all the rough grading on the area and the rough irrigation for the project. The local trash and recycle company brought out truckloads, all donated, truckloads of topsoil and truckloads of black bark to support the project. A local real estate management company came out with their crew and put up that beautiful screen to be able to not have to look at that ugly little building behind it that vines would grow up on. Even the local flagpole company, as I mentioned, that was a fire station, and there used to be a flagpole in the front of it. And they came in when they heard that the veterans also meet at the senior center, installed this flagpole for literally pennies on the dollar. We paid a fraction of what that thing would have been worth. And the Rotarians and their friends and their families got out on a big long weekend, masks in place. This thing had been put back a couple of times because of COVID, and did some beautiful landscaping. And now it is absolutely a kind of a gem in the neighborhood for all of the plants and the trees. And there were some different little signs put out that show what each of those plants are. And today it's thriving with its brand new oak tree and all the bushes and the roses and the trees. And we're just imagining the impact that the foundation had on this neighborhood for people who have no idea what Rotary is. They have no idea what the Rotary Foundation is. They just know that this thing called Rotary came in and made that a very beautiful spot in their town. So let me stop sharing that. That is my Rotary story. If someone asked me, and they did. All right, well, listen, let's go ahead and wrap up. And again, I think I'm going to see if what's going on in some of the other rooms there, maybe pick up a couple of tips here and there. Thank you so much for making this
Thank you so much, Dave.
super fun evening.
Thank you.
Bump into you at Monterey, perhaps.
All
There
right.
you go.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.